has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
All right, Carver High, hour 3 on a Misery Monday on Coast to Coast. Good to have everybody with us today. We're in New York City, whether you like it or not. And let's get into all these college games, starting with that crazy Georgia game in Lexington.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. Let's hear from some of these coaches from over the weekend. Georgia does beat Kentucky 13-12. I mentioned Stoops punting with 3.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Awful decision by him. Here's Kirby Smart. Afterwards, Scotty says, I knew it was going to be a very difficult job going into Lexington and winning. Sure.
I tried to tell everybody all week, but nobody would listen to me. I know what this team's made out of. I know how tough he coaches. I know several of his coaches on the staff. I've known him for a long time. I have tremendous respect. And when they get disrespected like they did last week and they listen to it for a week, they come out ready to play. And I think our kids listened to that. I think they understood it, but I also think it's a tough environment to play in. I'm so proud of the resiliency our kids showed. They never flinched. We thought this would be a blow-by-blow game, and we talked all week about blow-by-blow, deliver more blows than them. And we said the first chop of the tree doesn't chop the tree down. It takes sometimes 272 axe chops, and it took every single one tonight to get the job done.
I'm sure they're upset with the AP Top 25 that was released, where they're not number one anymore. And you could argue that they should be, because, frankly, Mike, this is the SEC. This is no joke. You play on the road in this conference. It's a nightmare every week. Now, I don't deny how deep they are and talented with 5 stars across the board, but I think anyone can give you problems in that conference. And I'll be honest with you, I would rather be, frankly, not the number one team in the country all year or be number one in the stupid AP poll that doesn't matter. All that matters is getting a high seed in that playoff tournament. That's all that matters. So would you rather be, because only two teams have won it that was ranked number one in the preseason AP poll ever. Okay? So I would rather lose. I would rather just get into that playoff in a top 5 seed than, be one of the remaining 7 that aren't the big, heavy 4 conferences that are going to get the top 4. Remember when Notre Dame, they etched them in at number 5 already, and then they got beat by NIU. I would rather be one of those top 4 seeds than worry about being number 1 in a poll that, for the most part, is meaningless. No one wants to say this because everyone loves the AP poll every week, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
It means absolutely nothing. It really doesn't. The only poll that matters is the one that the Crack Crab and Lobster Committee starts putting out in late October, early November, whenever they start doing it, and that's the college football playoff poll. That's the one that matters. That's the one that determines where you're going to be. This is all stuff for us to, talk about. It's all nonsense, really, at the end. And sure, I guess Georgia didn't look great, so they get bumped down to 2, and Texas is now smashing everyone every week, so they move up to 1. I know this, Scotty. We're going to find out who's really won between the two of them in a few weeks anyway, because October the 19th, Georgia comes into Austin, all right? And Georgia's going to play Texas in mid-October. So we're about a month away from that game actually happening, and we'll find out then who the real number 1 team is.
Listen, they're really good, and they had a tough Saturday in Lexington, and they won the game. You can say whatever you want. They won the game, whether you like it or not. And then I'll say this, playing in Austin is a living hell nightmare. That is an atmosphere that is very problematic for anyone that goes in there. Texas San Antonio looked like a deer in the headlights playing in that Memorial Stadium with those fans. They're crazy with their hook 'em horns. They got a big steer out there in the end zone. I mean, the whole thing's overwhelming. And they got a great team and a great quarterback and a great coach. So Georgia's going to have their hands full. I want to tell you a quick story. So my buddy was at the Canelo fight, and he was dropping 19 with him, and his whole night was ruined by it. He just kept looking at the phone, and he was like, Georgia. Oh, my God, Georgia's only got 3 points.
It wasn't changing.
Oh, my God, it's 6-6. Oh, my God. And he thought he was going to win all this money, and he never won anything. And he didn't have a credit card on him, so I had to buy him booze. So he won with that and then lost his bet. So you lose.
Not a good scene there. Number 4, Alabama destroys Wisconsin 42-10. At Camp Randall early on Saturday afternoon. Let's get the recap, Scotty, from Wisconsin head coach Luke Fickell. Let's see what he thought of the game.
Well, I'll give you guys the same message I just gave them. If you haven't had your ass whooped before, you just did. And it hurts, and it's not easy. But in this game, that's going to happen. And it's a part of the game. It stinks. It doesn't mean you didn't work hard. It didn't mean you didn't prepare. It means you didn't get the job done. And whether it's a 1-point loss or a 34-point loss, it's a good old-fashioned ass whooping at home, which hurts.
Yeah, look, I think the game ended when, their quarterback went down, Van Dyke. They weren't prepared for that. And I have to say, and I don't deny that Luke Fickell has done a good job coaching, but all this talk about him, I saw, and I did a story on this about, on my podcast about the tier levels of coaching powers in college football, who's the best coaches in college football. And they got this guy as one of the very best in college football coaching in Madtown, that he's one of the, like literally they had a top tier with 2 guys on it. And then they had the second tier, which is the best of the rest. And they had him as the best of the rest. And I think, let's slow down in the right lane over here and let people pass on the left. Luke Fickell has never done anything at the highest level yet that I've ever seen, and given him some kind of, glory like he's some amazing coach. They got bent over, ass slapped, and called Charlie all day by Alabama. And what it showed me was he's overrated, and that football team is average at best, even with Van Dyke, who sucked at Miami, and they're not going to win with him there either. And the SEC just took a leak all over the Big Ten. Just literally, they just couldn't even make it to the bathroom, so they did it right on their campus. Boom. And I'm right. Mic drop.
Notre Dame beat up Purdue 66-7. Little bully ball by Notre Dame after losing to Northern Illinois.
I hate Purdue and everything.
I know. I'm sure you like that part of it.
Stadium, have at it.
The Irish, unfortunately, though, did lose 2 of their starting offensive linemen for the rest of the season. So that's going to be a problem for them going forward. But as you said earlier, they got Miami of Ohio this week at South Bend. So we'll see if they can actually smash someone at home for once. Oklahoma State, no problems against Tulsa, covered. We talked about LSU and then Michigan struck, again, no cover over Arkansas State 28-18. They're just not very good. Now they're going to change quarterbacks. They're going to put this Orgy kid in against USC on Saturday. And I'll tell you this, I think they're going to get smashed by them too, Scotty, by USC.
Yeah, you and I are on the same boat here, and it's called You Lose. Here's the deal. Orgy against USC. Are you kidding me? Like what I said to Gabe, like they just aren't good. They're not good. All this talk about, dude, they barely beat Arkansas State. They schedule cream puffs, and they can barely beat them. What are they going to do when Moss comes creeping up on them like Hulk Hogan? I mean, honestly.
This is going to be just like the Texas game a couple of weeks ago. Now, USC is not as good as Texas, Scotty, but it's going to be the same formula. USC is going to score some points, and Michigan can't keep up with it. They're not going to be able to keep up with USC scoring a couple of points, and that's going to be the game. They have no offense right now. It's all gone. You say it 1,000 times. Their entire offense is in the NFL, and so is their head coach. They're all in the NFL now. It's a different team. They're going to find that out on Saturday.
I just wanted to add that I did see an orgy this weekend at the pool at New York, in Las Vegas. Are we on the air?
Yeah.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Yeah, after the day I had in college football Saturday, I went to dinner, Carver High. The first thing I said was, "Give me a double."
Yeah, it wasn't easy out there on Saturday. It certainly wasn't. There was a lot going on, that's for sure.
I watched the Missouri, Pitt game. That was my favorite game.
And that was a hell of a game.
And then late night when I was at the bar, I watched the Aztecs bend over against Cal, and I saw their students. Did you see their students throwing stuff on the field, and the coach get mad?
The coach got mad. He started yelling at everybody. He went on the ref mic. He's ripping the mic off of the ref. He yelled to the fans.
Stop throwing stuff. That's 30 yards and penalties.
That backyard brawl. That was a hell of a game. And how about now they sent Narduzzi to FedEx today, of course, because you saw him after the game too. Go, we beat West Virginia and we beat the refs. Boy, Narduzzi afterwards. So they sent him a bill for that for talking bad about the officials because there were some bad calls. There were some bad calls in that game. There's no doubt. But Pitt got it done. 38-34, a wild backyard brawl.
They were down 34-24, Mike. In the fourth quarter.
Yep, came back. And as we always say here, that game should be played every single year. Every year, they should have the backyard brawl, among other rivalries. Missouri did beat Boston College. They did not cover that heavy number, 27-21, so nice effort by BC and Columbia, but they come up short. Gutless effort by Oregon State. They got smashed by the Ducks. Ducks covered for the first time this year. They flexed some muscle, 49-14. Texas A&M beat Florida 33-20, and you know this. That score does not indicate how the closeness of that game because it was not close. That score should be like 33-3. That's how bad Florida looked in that game. They were booing Billy Napier as he was running off the field afterwards. He heard them, Scotty.
Well, I don't blame. I have no excuse, and I have no negative comment about that. I mean, ultimately, when you play a certain way in this arena, you're going to be criticized, right? So this is one of those places where there's history and tradition and expectations. There's been a lot of really good football teams that played in that stadium in the past.
And you ain't one
of them. Play ugly ball, you know, and maybe it doesn't look quite like we all want it to, then hey, it comes with the territory. So
comes with the territory.
I probably would have done the same thing, truth be known.
Listen, let me just say this. I swear to God, 3 weeks ago, he didn't have a beard and there was no gray. And look at him today. He looks like Grizzly Adams. I mean, my man is fired. He is so fired. I can't even believe he has his job this evening, like tonight. I cannot fathom that the president and the athletic director in Gainesville is not seeing what is happening on their own campus in front of their faces and in their eyes. Like, this guy is finished at Florida. Finished. Done. Put a fork in him. And listen, I am not one. We sit on here and, like, I'll go with Adam, and he never talks about firing coaches. He's friends with all of them. Well, I'm not friends with anybody. And that guy has to be fired now, okay? I am not nice. If I ran that school, he'd be gone already. And I'll tell you another thing. Mike Norvell be fired, too, for going 0-3 twice in Tallahassee. This is Florida State and Florida, and I guarantee you, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that both of them are still employed. I'm serious. Well, can you imagine that Norvell has gone 0-3 twice, not once, twice, and he's still the head coach, and his answers at press conferences are so laughable and anemic, and this guy Napier, he's growing old. Next week when we see him, he's going to be 94 years old with a cane.
Well, let's go to Norvell, guys, then, because it just ties in too nicely. Of course, Florida State lost to Memphis 20-12, and they go to 0-3. Now, like you said, listening to this guy after the game as they're getting their ass beat every week, it's very tough to take. In fact, someone there at Doak Walker on Saturday, they didn't like listening to him anymore either, because they pulled the fire alarm hoping that he would shut up. Here's Norvell at the end of his press conference.
I tell it to teams all the time, momentum takes one play. I mean, that's it. That's all it takes to change it. And, we just, obviously have had some opportunities that, that we needed to respond in those situations. But, I think from their attitude, their approach, even there in the locker room, we're all disappointed. As we continue to work and continue to pour into each other and the opportunity we have.
Get rid of Coach Norvell. Please. Get him out. Oh, bye, Coach.
Oh, my God.
See you later.
That guy is so doomed. It is not. You know what? I'm thinking those two should be lovers. Honestly, they should hook up. I mean, both of those guys are so doomed that they should spend some time together. They could get to know each other. Honestly, I can't even believe, I mean it. I am not, like, my friend is the biggest Florida State fan in the world. They are so bad, I can't even bring it to myself to make fun of my friend. Now, there's nothing better than making fun of your buddy that's team sucks, because we just rub it in their face every time. Like, when Miami loses, he gives me the business.
Right.
I feel so bad for him because his team sucks so bad. They got their ass beat by Memphis. I mean, what is next? Elvis is coming back from the dead? I have seen it all. Florida State sucks monkey onions, and they need to fire his ass. And Billy Neighbors, he's already dead man walking. He should be on a plank on Pirates of the Caribbean. Come on.
Well, let me ask you this. Florida visits Tallahassee, of course, as always, Thanksgiving weekend, November the 30th, in the final game of the season. Will it be Napier and Norvell, one of them, or both of them gone by then? By November 30th, when they play the last game, will both of them still be coaching, one of them be coaching, or both of them be out? What will it be on the last game?
If they are still coaching that game, then I think both athletic directors should be fired with them.
It's very possible. If they're both coaching on November the 30th against each other,
listen,
fire all the administrations. Get everybody
if I were
out.
there running that athletic program, they'd both be fired by Sunday, yesterday. They would have been fired.
Yeah.
Like, I've had enough. I've had enough of you and all of your bullshit. You are getting stomped every week, no matter where we play or who we play. You got to go. Like this, like gambling kitties. Get them like this. Get them out.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Carver High ready to talk about the Apple Cup, and it's always Cane Day, baby.
It is always Cane Day, baby, that's for sure. As far as Washington State goes, I was very proud of them on Saturday, Scotty. I thought a big chip on the shoulder game, second week in a row, and they get it done 24-19. This Mateer, kid playing quarterback for Washington State, he's been unbelievable, Scotty. He's running all over the place, making great throws. They're 3-0 now. After a couple wins against Washington and Texas Tech. So nice job by the Cougs. Miami, no questions asked, 62-zip against Ball State at Hard Rock. That's how you take care of business. I mean, look, I know there's going to be greater tasks down the road, but that's how you take care of business at home when everybody starts bumping you up and you're ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, that was easy work. Let's see if they can handle that piece of wood that they got with South Florida this week on the road. I think that's going to be a hell of a football game. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to what we saw them do at Hard Rock on Saturday. They might have their hands full. I think I saw it at 16 and a hook.
Next, Indiana also was very good to me on Saturday, Scotty. I laid it with them at 4 late night, 42-13. They beat UCLA. I love this guy, Signetti. I thought he would go in there. He usually, when he gets to places, is a fast starter. Now, he's got to keep it going, but I love the start that Indiana's on. You look at his schedule. They're 3-0. Charlotte at home, Maryland at home, at Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State. You know, they got a chance to win a good amount of football games this year if they're going to play this good.
I mean, that's the bottom line. If they play this good, I think they played very well at the Rose Bowl, and I think they played against a crappy team. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't disagree that Signetti can coach. He's always had explosive offenses wherever he's been. He's got a great offensive mind. He slings it. He spreads it out. Everybody's going for it on that offense, and they got a quarterback. So let's see what they do. Remember, they've literally never done anything ever. I mean, 1967, they went to the Rose Bowl. It's the first time they've been back, and they kicked the crappy team's ass. Let's face it, Foster's got a nightmare on his hands out in SoCal with the Bruins. They're not good at all.
They are not good at all, indeed. Colorado beat Colorado State 28-9. I've had enough of the Colorado stuff, Scotty. I know they were on CBS Saturday night. Everybody, but I can't take it anymore.
I don't care
with that outfit. I'm finished with them. They
love when you give them attention. That's what they want is attention. And let's just move on.
Indeed. Another game that was outstanding, and I was thankful to be on the right side of UCF with that big comeback in Fort Worth against TCU. That was maybe one of the games of the day. 35-34. They scored a late touchdown, Scotty. Huge second-half comeback. Nice job by Gus Malzahn and the Knights down there. And Tennessee beat Kent State 71-0. What was it at the half, 63? What did they have at the half in that game? You said on Friday they would score 50 points in the first quarter. They came pretty close to that, right? What did they have in the first quarter in that game the other night? They absolutely smashed them. Jeez, what a job by Tennessee.
I think they had 44 points in the first quarter. Their offense, they got a quarterback. They can play. They're a very dangerous team. You do not want to play them anywhere near Knoxville.
Nowhere near Knoxville. Yes, you were right. 37 in the first quarter. 37-0 in the first quarter.
What's the difference?
65-0 at halftime. And thankfully, they called off the Dogs in the second half and just kicked a couple of field goals. I'm looking forward to Tennessee playing some of these other teams, these big teams in the SEC. It kind of flashed up there before you mentioned it. This is the entire new top 25 for this week, Scotty, with the big change being, of course, Texas is now in the top spot. Georgia goes down to the number 2 spot here as now the rest of the top 5 that you are going to have there it is for you right now, Scotty, to load up. Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Tennessee is 6th. So SEC has 6 of the top 7 teams in the country, with Missouri being at 7.
Yeah, listen, I mean, let's face facts. The Vols, the Tigers, and the Canes all have really good quarterbacks. And they're 3 very exciting teams to watch. And I would love to see them continue this into the playoff. I mean, you do not want to play any of those 3 teams whatsoever. I think Oregon is beatable. I think Penn State is beatable.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
right, John DeShazer of the NewOrleansSaints.com senior writer joins us on Coast to Coast to talk about this unbelievable start for the Saints and Derek Carr. It's great to see you. I have to say, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you, where a team, if you look back at what they did, they scored. Let's go back to the first game when they had points on 9 consecutive possessions in the rout of Carolina. Fair enough, Panthers stink. But then you go to Dallas and score on your first 6 possessions against the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry's World, a 36-win team over the last 3 years in the regular season. Now that's saying something. And if you stack it up, it's truly unbelievable what they've been doing with The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, and think about this. Dallas had won 16 straight home games during the regular season, and those 6 consecutive possessions were 6 straight touchdowns, no field goals, touchdowns. So the Saints have been very, very impressive. At no point yesterday on Sunday did it appear Dallas had a real good handle on what the Saints were doing offensively, and that's exactly what the Saints want of every opponent this year. They want every play to look the same. They want every play to seem the same as they get to the line of scrimmage and they go into motion, and yet every play has a different variation, and they know exactly where what they want to do, and they had Dallas exactly where they wanted them.
Kamara was so unbelievable, and I never remembered him doing anything like that, frankly, ever. I mean, I always thought he was good, but I never saw him light it up like that yesterday, where he, like, I don't know what I was watching. I was like, I always thought he had it all, talent-wise, but I've never seen him mix it up like that.
Well, he scored the 4 touchdowns. He did score 6 touchdowns, ran for 6 touchdowns against Minnesota on Christmas Day in 2020. But, I mean, the last 3 seasons.
Years ago.
Years ago. The last 3 seasons, his numbers have dipped, and it just hadn't looked like quite the Alvin Kamara we're accustomed to seeing. And he's a guy who's always in phenomenal shape physically. He's got a great mind for the game. We just didn't know how it would translate in this offense. And you see Christian McCaffrey in this offense, and you see other running backs in this offense, and you say, man, they're very productive. Alvin Kamara saw those same things, and he knew that production could be his if he was in this offense. And he has exploded, especially against Dallas yesterday, where he looked like the Alvin Kamara that we're accustomed to seeing from 5-6 years ago, where he looked fresh. He's got some of the best balance I've ever seen for a running back. And he was just a guy who was not going to be denied. And he ran for the tough yards, too. It wasn't just a flash in the dash. He muscled up between the tackles when they had to, when they needed some tough yards.
Have you ever seen anyone do that with that much of a gap in their career of when they were great when they were young, and then 4 years later do it again? I can't remember anyone losing 4 years of their life in a football career and having a game like that. On that 57-yard screenplay, he was just a monster. And, I'm sitting there watching going, what? I was in Vegas, and I'm going, what is happening here? What is going on here with this guy? I go, do you remember this guy? I'm looking at people in the bar. I'm going, do you remember this? Do you remember this guy?
Think about it, Scott. This is a running back. These guys fall off the table at a certain age.
Right.
They don't just dip; they fall off the table. And you wondered if Alvin Kamara was in that spot where he was literally about to fall off the table. So when you're talking about 4 years gap between running back, that's almost totally different than any other beast in the NFL, because their production drops so sharply and they generally never get it back. But he is the guy who apparently, maybe he never lost it, and they just needed a new offensive system. They needed some new blood. They needed some new schemes to free him up and get him in space.
What is going on with this kid, Kubiak? I mean, I got to be honest with you. I always have been kind of a downer on Allen. I've never thought he was a good coach. I really don't. I was like, I've said on the air before, he sucks. He's just not a good coach. And but this kid, no disrespect to Allen, fair enough. But this kid, I don't even know what I'm watching with this offense. And I'm like, what the hell is going on Like, I'm watching going, what is happening here? Beyond Kamara, like, the whole thing is like greased lightning, and I don't think anyone in football saw it coming.
Yeah, that's that. I guess that the Shanahan pixie dust, I guess. I mean, it seems like these guys take that system around the NFL and they're productive with it. Now, I will say this. You've got to have the parts to be able to do it. You can install the system. Does the system work the same with Carolina? I don't know. But when you've got Alvin Kamara and you've got, Derek Carr, who really, really likes this offense, and you got a couple of receivers who are able to get open the way the Saints have some guys that can get open. And even though the offensive line collectively is inexperienced in terms of playing together, but they're athletic guys, and that's what that offense depends on. Athletic offensive linemen who get down the field, who are able to get to angles and make those blocks. Then everything seems to be a perfect storm for the Saints right now, because everything that Clint Kubiak seems to call is working, even when they don't have a game on the plate, it's setting you up for something else. And I mean, they perfectly set Dallas up, several times yesterday where the Cowboys thought they saw one thing, instead it was another. And at times it was a 57-yard screen pass for a touchdown. Another time it was a 70-yard touchdown, a pass to Rashid Shaheed. I mean, they really had them on their heels because they didn't necessarily know what they were looking for. It was a hocus pocus show.
That is awesome. Now, John, let me ask you. This is like glory days with Sean and Drew. It really is. Like, they haven't seen anything like this down there since then. And I want to know what the reaction is. Are people all in, buying in? Are they freaking out? Are they like, are they timid about it? Like, I don't trust it. What is the reaction to what they're witnessing right now with the hottest show in the league?
Look, after 3 consecutive non-playoff seasons, Saints fans are both feet in. They're all in. They traveled well to Dallas yesterday, and outside the stadium, they were having a second line. These folks want to see a winner, and most, obviously, every NFL city, their fans want to see a winner, but these guys are starving for a winner. And they've seen what it can be like with a guy like Drew Brees at quarterback and Sean Payton at head coach, where, 10, 12 win seasons kind of got, pretty much the norm around here. And then, folks started expecting to get to the Super Bowl every year, where it doesn't happen that way. We know that. But now, after having a little bit of a drought, now to get back to some success, these people were starving for it. And I guarantee you, Sunday in the Superdome against Philadelphia is going to be rocking.
Yeah, I hope they lose tonight. I just wanted to say that to you. And then when you were watching the game yesterday, I got 1 minute respectfully, John. When you were watching the game yesterday and you're doing your thing, what were you thinking? Like, I was like, give me a double. I need another drink over here. I'm watching this. What is happening? What were you thinking?
I kept saying, okay, well, I think Dallas will probably, I think they'll, have to punt this series. Okay, I think they'll have to punt this series. Okay, I think they have to punt this series. Okay, there's going to be a 3-and-out here. And they kept getting touchdowns. It was phenomenal to watch.
You had to be tripping watching that game.
I mean, it was wild. I mean, I can't say that I've seen back-to-back games where you score on 9 straight possessions to open the game and then 6 straight possessions to open the game. I've never seen that with my own eyes.
Well, we say on this show all the time, the Falcons have already won the division. Put it in the books, jokingly, because everyone thought with Kirk Cousins it was automatic in the bag. And now the Saints are kicking ass and taking names. I hope the Eagles lose tonight. I look forward to Eagles-Saints on Bourbon Street, and we'll see you down there at the Super Bowl. John, just Jaser. Love you, bro. Great job. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Scott.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Plenty of activity in the Spew newsroom, Carver High.
Yeah, there is a couple of things that just came across the desk. Cooper Kupp likely headed to IR for an extended period of time for the Rams. So we told you earlier he left that game yesterday with walking boot, ankle issues. So no Kupp, no Puka Shells, offensive line problems. I saw someone else on defense too. I would have to go and check real fast, Scotty. Also hurt. For the Rams, which is just a bad situation all the way around for them. Guys dropping left and right. Very unfortunate. And as for Wisconsin, we mentioned Tyler Van Dyke leaving the game on Saturday against Alabama. He's out for the season. He tore his ACL. So Van Dyke is finished.
Well, I feel bad for him. But in the NCAA nowadays, you can play college football for 15 years. So when he finally gets his knee right, I'm sure they'll give him another year because he played one game and he's done. Yeah. So my guess is he'll keep eligibility and play again. But I don't care. I said earlier I couldn't stand him at Miami. And then now he's done it at Wisconsin. But my guess would be he'd be back again.
I was right. One of the Rams' best defenders, their safety, Johnny Johnson, suffered a hairline fracture on Sunday against the Cardinals. He's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So the Rams are just dropping like flies. Not a good thing to have this early in the season. That's for sure. All right, baseball now. We have a lot of games tonight. Let me just quickly tell you a couple things. Number one, Yankees beat the Red Sox 5-2 on Sunday. Judge hit his 53rd home run. I did want to go back to something on Saturday, though. I thought it was very gutless by Cole to intentionally walk him on purpose. I know we've been screaming for him not to pitch to Devers. He hits him the first time. He intentionally walked him the second time. With nobody on base, it's a little different, Scotty. And no, I don't know. The whole thing felt a little weird. And now MLB's investigating. I don't know what there is to investigate, but that he hit him on Saturday because Cora's all mad.
Aren't they investigating both teams, like Cora for throwing at Judge?
Yeah, which they failed with that, right? I mean, if you're going to throw at somebody on purpose, hit him.
Well, I mean, listen.
It's just like,
you know what's so funny? Investigations. That's hilarious. Do you remember when baseball they used to just do it and there was nothing to it? It's like rivals hate each other. We're going to throw at their best players. We're going to bean you. Going to throw at you. Going to go high and tight. Throw cheese. It is what it is. Nowadays, there's a federal investigation into beaning someone. How hilarious and soft is that?
Very soft. Yankees lead the Orioles by 3 games in the AL East. There's 2 weeks left in the season. That's because the Orioles lost yesterday to Detroit. They lost 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Phillies beat the Mets. Dodgers beat the Braves. Mets and the Braves are tied for the last wild card spot. But Lindor left that game again yesterday, Scotty, sore back. So that's a problem for the Mets because he's obviously been their best player throughout this stretch that they have had here. Now, they play at home against the Nationals tonight. And, of course, there's no Lindor in the lineup for that. Let's get right into the games tonight, Scotty, because we're running out of time and we have a few things to get to. The Twins are in Cleveland against the Guardians tonight. Start of a big 4 games for both teams in terms of positioning and if the Twins can hang on. Pablo Lopez against Matthew Boyd, minus 120 for the Twins. Even money for the Guardians and a 7.5.
Well, I mean, I just think they're dangerous at home, right? I like Cleveland. I'm not really that worried about, Lopez and Boyd here. This to me is a 7, 8, 9 inning bullpen game. At some point, who's going to win this game late? I say Cleveland.
Minnesota only a 2.5 game lead on Detroit and Seattle now for the last wild card in the American League, so they need every win that they can get at this point. We mentioned the Mets. They're home for the Nats tonight. Sean Manaea and Jake Irvin, minus 190 for the Mets, plus 160 for the Nats, and a 7.5.
I'll tell you what, this is a hard game against the Nats because Irvin's tough. He's as tough as Manaea is, has the same kind of, numbers. I think this is a game. Look, I'd take that 1.5, and it's not that juicy at minus $1.35. I think the Nats will be in the game. This is spoiler time now, the rest of the month. Can you knock a team off their perch? Without Lindor, you saw what happened to him in Philly. They blew the game on Saturday with him up 4-0. They lose again on Sunday, and now they go against a guy that can pitch. Irvin's not that bad. I would take a risk with that 1.5 with the Nats.
So while the Mets play, the Braves will play as well. Last game of a 4-game wraparound series with the Dodgers down in Atlanta. Max Fried and Yamamoto, the starters tonight. Minus 130 for the Dodgers, plus 110 for the Braves, and a 7.5.
Look, I just think Yamamoto's the deal. And I think he can beat Fried Chicken. Give me the Dodgers tonight.
Fried Chicken. The Tigers, who, as we mentioned, are only 2.5 back with 2 weeks to play of that last wild card spot. Reese Olson will start tonight. Seth Lugo for the Royals, who have the second wild card right now. Minus 150 for Kansas City, plus 125 for the Tigers, and an 8.5.
I mean, honest to God, how do they beat Lugo at the K? It's just not happening. Not with that kid on the mound. He sucks.
I agree with you on that. The A's are at Wrigley against the Cubbies. Joey Estes and Imanaga tonight. Minus 2 Bills for Chicago. Plus 165 for the A's and an 8.5.
Look, I mean, there is nothing I like more than a just gigantic dog at $1.70 with Estes Park, Colorado on the bump and the A's with their bats. Can they get to Imanaga? It's not going to be easy, but I'll take the risk with the A's.
Couple teams that might see each other in a few weeks in the playoffs, Scotty. The Phillies and the Brewers in Milwaukee. Ranger Danger Suarez and Aaron Savale tonight. Minus 115 for the Brewers. Minus 105 for Philly and a 7.5.
I saw it at even money. I grabbed the Brewers.
Paul Skeens tonight for the Pirates. I'm going to get... Now, is he gonna? If he's starting tonight, Scott, is he gonna make the last start at Yankees? Well, you got 2 weeks for that. I think it lines up that he would pitch that last weekend in the Bronx if they keep him on rotation and he finishes it out. He's minus 135 tonight, plus 115 for Palante and the Cardinals at Busch.
As we like to refer to it, Skeens TV tonight at Busch. And yes, if he pitches in the boogie down, I'm going to see him.
We will come back. I'll give you the last 3. And all the leftovers. There's a lot to get to here. Very full slate of things to get.
We're under a tremendous strain.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Carver High and I are hearing, before we start Leftovers, they're going to start a Jason Kelce Snoop Dogg show on network television within a week. They can't get enough of either one of them. They're going to have Kelce on tonight, knobbing the Eagles in the booth.
We gotta just pull the reins back a little bit. We gotta pull them back a little bit. We're just letting them fly too fast, I think. The Diamondbacks are in Colorado tonight. Merrill Lynch Kelly against Antonio Santazella. Minus 180 for the Diamondbacks, plus 150 for the Rockies, and an 11.5. Look out.
Remember the black hole when you go to Colorado. The first game. Give me the Rockies at $1.43.
The White Sox are in Anaheim against the Angels. Jonathan Cannon and Reed Detmers. Imagine the Angels being minus 190. Think about how bad you have to be minus 190 for the Angels. It's pathetic. 7.5. The Angels are 60 and 89, and they're minus 190 tonight. Think about that.
Give me the over and cancel the game.
There is one good late night game. The Astros and the Padres at Petco. Spencer, give me the Spaghetti Arrighetti against Yu Darvish. Minus 120 for the Friars. Even money for the Stros and a 7.5.
The Friars at minus $1.35 and the over.
And the over, of course. I've been getting worn down with the homer, Scotty. It's football season. It's hurting me. But I will tell you, I do have 2 bombs on the card tonight. I am playing Brian Reynolds against Palante for the Buccos there in St. Louis. He's got great numbers off of Palante. He's not great numbers, but he's hit some homers off of Palante. So we're going to take a shot with him. And I'm going to Naylor as well with Cleveland in that game that they've got against Minnesota. All right, here we go. Leftovers. Let's do it. Sidney Crosby extends with the Penguins. 2 years, $17.4 million. You know what that works out to, right, Scotty? $8.7 million per season for number 87. That's pretty good.
I believe
he will.
Yes, when he's done playing, he'll be running the Penguins for the rest of his life, and that'll be the end of their current GM that nobody likes already.
I agree. Canelo beats Berlanga by unanimous decision. I don't think I've asked you this once in 2 hours and 56 minutes. Was it a good fight? You were there.
Canelo dominated with shots to his body and did whatever he wanted. I give Berlanga credit. After getting knocked down with a left hook in the third like a tree in the forest, he got up and went the distance. And gave it everything he had. I thought it was cool at the end that he said he was his hero his whole life and never could say it leading up to the fight because they were selling the fight.
I have no idea. Did Sweet Hands win? Did Plant win before him? I have no idea.
Plant got knocked down in the fourth round, but came back to literally beat the living shack out of McCumbee. Beat him like a rented mule. Knocked him the F out.
There was an upset at the UFC.
Garcia's fight was embarrassing. It was the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. Lara and Danny Garcia, 20,000 Mexicans booed for an hour straight.
There was an upset at the UFC 206 down the block at the Sphere as O'Malley lost to who's this guy? Davashvili. I saw that Dana White was very upset that the fight was boring. Nobody was happy. John Jones to defend against Stipe Miocic. How many times have these guys been supposed to fight? I mean, again with these two, UFC 309 for Jones and Stipe. The Knicks signed Landry Shamet to a 1-year deal. You already talked with Coach about Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson. John Rahm wins Live Chicago and the season-long individual Live title. Not bad. He won like $35 million this year or something on Live, Scotty. Not a bad season for John Rahm, as they will play the team championship this week in Dallas, where he'll win even more money because his team is pretty much at the top of that. And at the PGA Tour, the immortal Patton Kizzire won the Pro Tour Championship out at Napa. His first win on the tour in 6 years was the last time Kizzire had won. He needed it. He'll get to keep his card. Good for him.
I would have rather picked grapes in Napa Valley than watch that golf tournament.
That's the end. All the leftovers for you. You only have 30 seconds to tell us about Tito Jackson. That's it.
Tito is gone at 70. Yes. Tito Jackson, the original member of the Jackson 5 from lovely Gary, Indiana. Michael's brother, gone, passes away at 70. How about Peripheral? Perry Farrell punches Dave Navarro at a Jane's Addiction concert in Boston with a haymaker. The band has canceled the remainder of the tour after Perry lost his shack on stage and attacked his lead guitarist who used to tap. What was her name? The girl.
Carmen Electra.
I had a crush on her. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnEvents.com. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on Sports.